Welcome to Experiences Canada's podcast series from the National Youth Forum 2024 on reconciliation. This podcast series was led by 60 Indigenous and non-Indigenous youth in their own voices. It is the first podcast platform of its kind that provides an opportunity for youth to add their voices to the national dialogue towards truth and reconciliation. Today's podcast explores reconciliation through culture and education and is researched and hosted by Adam, Miriam, May, Mia, and Georgia. Thank you to Callie for guiding them through these important conversations and powerful stories so we can learn from their experiences. Please be aware that this podcast includes discussions on injustices and violence against Indigenous peoples in Canada. In the spirit of reconciliation, we aim to increase awareness of these injustices and encourage listeners to actively engage in these tough conversations with sensitivity and respect.
Welcome to the Gen Z Beyond Mic podcast. Today we're going to talk about exploring reconciliation through culture, faith, education, and learning from one another. We'll start off by introducing yourselves.
Hi, bonjour, mon nom est Amy Boudreau et j'ai 16 ans et je viens de Bathurst, Nouveau-Brunswick. La raison dont je suis ici aujourd'hui pour faire des podcasts est car je veux apprendre plus sur la réconciliation et la culture autochtone.
Hi, my name is Adam. I'm here from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. I'm 14 and I'm here because I want to make a difference.
Hi, bonjour, assalamu alaikum. My name is Miriam, मेरा नाम मरियम है. I'm 17 and I'm here from Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Denise Takota, Skyzet, Sissezik, Georgia, Litsano Sudista. I'm 15 years old and from Woodsett, BC.
We're excited to have you join us as we explore the many factors of reconciliation and the role that culture, faith, and education play in bringing us all together.
This podcast will give you a chance to hear inspiring stories from us and Georgia's grandmother, for us to discuss our thoughts and hear opinions from others and help us understand how we can make unity and respect in our communities.
So our podcast is divided into 3 segments: an informational segment, a guest speaker segment, and we will be answering your question and discussing our and your thoughts.
As we dive into our first segment, the informational segment, we'll be exploring the historical and cultural context of reconciliation, showing you key moments and events that have shaped our current understanding of today.
So after that, we'll be joined by our guest speaker, Tris Mazel, who will be sharing her insight and experiences.
Let's get started with our informational segment.
Over the past few days, we've heard a variety of individuals share their own definition of reconciliation. Although all were very different, they all incorporated the idea of taking certain actions for a better future. Within Indigenous reconciliation, the process of addressing and understanding the historical and ongoing injustices and harm is essential. Another key element is relationship building, creating mutual dialogue and partnerships between Indigenous and non-Indigenous individuals' communities.
So what reconciliation is for me in New Brunswick, where I'm from, I think it's quite sad actually. We don't talk a lot about it. In my school, the only thing we do have that could go for it is the Orange Shirt Day, which I think a lot of people don't even really know what it is about. We do always listen to the little documentary, but like I said, they don't know what it is, and I think it's really sad, and I would like to, bring that in New Brunswick to actually help others understand more about it, since we do have a lot of reserve close to our school and in my town. And I think it would just really mean something to me and to the others that are like me, that do have Indigenous culture in themselves, if others could actually understand what it is. So to me, I think we just need to really show more of Canada what it is and to help them understand more about it.
Yeah, to me, in Saskatchewan, we do quite a bit of reconciliation. It's kind of worked into most curriculum throughout the first 8 years. So throughout there, we do a bunch of units in just the classroom. We also go outside the classroom and visit reconciliation, sites that were very important during Indigenous times. So
Reconciliation back in Winnipeg is unfortunately not huge. There is emphasis put on it, but nobody really sees any action, so that's something we need to work on.
Reconciliation in Woodsett, BC, I think they try really hard to add it into their curriculum. We do a lot about it. I have a language classroom at my school. My mom actually teaches it. And almost every kid has that class at least one part of their day. And they do teach a lot about reconciliation and just educating the kids. So I do think that what's said is doing a good job in educating kids about reconciliation.
To me, especially in New Brunswick, I think we should do more about art and music festival for the Indigenous people. I think we should celebrate them more, such as it's on the Orange Day or whatever. I think we really need to like incorporate culture more in New Brunswick and even in Canada. I feel like people don't really know if there's like a certain like powwow here, like music festival, art festival. I think it's a big part of these people, like all these things, and I think we should really like put ourselves there and go and celebrate with them, make them feel like they're special because they are. And I think that this whole culture thing we should really like be there with them and make it a bit more in Canada and especially New Brunswick where I'm from, because we do not have a lot of that. So I think it would be really important.
To build off what May said, I feel like part of the reason why this isn't a big thing is because I'm not really going to powwows and I'm not seeing where they are and stuff. So like if the message about when that stuff was happening was bigger, I feel like they'd get more attention and we could see more reconciliation happening. But at the moment, I feel like it's like a small little space of people who actually know when the events are going on and know what's happening. So I feel like if that was broadened, it would be better.
For me, back in Winnipeg, like I said, there really isn't much emphasis on educating others about that. Besides the absolute bare minimum in the education system outside of school, there really isn't much publicity, much education about it in the city. So I think having festivals, events, stuff like that, presentations in the community, but people just need to be willing to share. People need to be willing to educate and have other people learn about them and their culture.
I just want to say ditto.
So I think the other word what we're trying to say is just we would like to know more about these things. Maybe like a little bit like add signs, social media, know about it, so that we can also go and celebrate with them and make them feel loved in our communities.
Okay, we are now going to hear from Trish Nizelle, my grandma, and hear about her experiences and advice.
Hi, Grandma.
Hi, baby.
Okay, so we're going to start with a little bit of an introduction from you. So feel free to tell us what you do, a bit about your job, your background, stuff like that.
Okay. So Denise Zakoze Skyze Sai Sozi Wehanaksam Trishnazalak Samasudista. I am a wing chief in our Wet'suwet'en Feast Hall, and the role I have right now is I am the Anabip team lead. Anabip means, or it's an acronym for Anak Nuaden Biel District. So what that means is we are talking about our ways. And as a team lead, my role is I have 9 staff across the province in Vancouver, Prince George, and Burns Lake. And my role, along with my staff, is to prevent our Wet'suwet'en children from going into care. In saying that, I'm sad to say that First Nations make 5%, Wet'suwet'en make 5% of the population in British Columbia. However, the Wet'suwet'en children in care is sitting at 54% of all children in care is made up of our Wet'suwet'en children. So the job I have is to prevent children from going into care. So when parents or a parent or a grandma or grandpa are having struggles, my staff and myself step in to help advocate for them. A lot of them don't have the know-how or the means to speak for themselves. So I always tell my staff that we are the voice that they don't have. And so we advocate for them across the province. And like I mentioned earlier, a number of our children are already in care. So with those children, our job is to implement our culture and language across the province. I just came back from Victoria last night and met with the provincial government and the federal government. And my reason for going there was to let them know that we're making a significant impact on Wet'suwet'en children and families across the province. In doing that, our capacity is not there. So I literally went up to bat yesterday for, right now I operate a budget of $1.5 million, and I've reached out for $4 million to build the capacity of our Wet'suwet'en to help those in need, to reduce those numbers across the province. So that's really what I do. And I, you know what, I love my job. Today, I witnessed a year and a half ago, a little baby girl named Anna come into the system. We tried everything to not have her go into foster home, into stranger care. Because the family is so disconnected from generational trauma, we were unable to find a healthy home. So I make it a point, along with my staff in Vancouver, to make regular visits with baby Anna, because she has no other Wet'suwet'en connection. And today, she recognizes me and she kicks around, gets all excited, and she's walking today. So it's those kind of stories that I hold dear to my heart. The job I do it with a lot of passion. I'm very passionate about the work that I do across the province with my staff. And we held a Wet'suwet'en 101 on Thursday in Victoria, and we're doing another one in Vancouver on Monday. So there's lots of work happening. We host Wet'suwet'en Wednesdays across the province. That's for all the Wet'suwet'en to come together, and we do drumming, we do singing, we do language all across the province. And we're just in 5 years now. I'm also a teacher, so I'm very passionate when I'm in the classroom as well. And I have the ability to really encourage our First Nations all across northern British Columbia to further their education. I always tell them successful people set goals. I end up with a lot of students in my adult classrooms that really struggled in the high school system, or they quit at some point. And so I'm helping lift them up across the province and encouraging them to get a higher education, it be in trades or a college or a university. So I really wear two big hats. I really love what I do, and I don't plan on retiring anytime soon. As you know, I'm Georgia's grandma, but I come with a whole lot of energy. I have a lot of passion in all the work that I do. I'm also actively using my Wet'suwet'en language. So baby Anna today knows that I drum and sing for her when she sees me. And so she starts singing, ha ha, ha ha. And she's only 2 years old, not even 2 yet. So she already knows the heartbeat. She'll do this on the table. So that's the kind of work that I'm doing across the province. My biggest takeaway at the end of the day when I'm sitting or getting ready for bed is I want every child across the province that's not connected with their family to have a strong sense of who they are and where they belong. So that's a big introduction because I hold two big positions. My teaching that I do is through my business that's called Sunhouse Saya Consulting, and I'm employed with the Office of Wet'suwet'en for the Anabip work that I do across the province.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing all that with us.
Yeah.
Great. So we do have a few questions other than that for you to answer, if you're willing to answer. So one of it is, what do you think is a step that could help us pursue Indigenous language and culture around Canada or in different, nations or stuff?
Okay, so with the Office of Wet'suwet'en, I had a representative from the Youth Madu program, and it's run through the Office of Wet'suwet'en. There's seats becoming vacant for young Wet'suwet'en between the ages of, I think it's 16 and 29. The ones that are in there right now have just graduated out of, so they've turned 30, so those positions are opening up again. They actually sit at the governance level when we're in negotiations for children and families with Canada and the province. They're also actively involved in our language and culture. So what they're doing is they're taking our language and culture as youth and finding ways to get it out on the different social media platforms to really increase the numbers of Wet'suwet'en speakers. Right now, I believe we've lost so many elders that I'm actually becoming an elder faster than I thought I was going to. That right now, I believe we're at 2% of fluent Wet'suwet'en speakers. So what are we doing? We've got a youth group, a youth platform that is going to be utilizing all the social media platforms that our youth use. So be it TikTok, but finding ways to get our children, youth engaged in our language and culture. So, and the other beautiful thing is in our community of Wet'suwet'en, we have a daycare that's Wet'suwet'en immersion. So they use just the language in the daycare.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So, we know you've already mentioned that you were a wing chief and a matriarch, and I know you already touched a bit on that in the introduction. But if you could expand a little bit about what exactly does that mean? What kind of responsibilities and duties do you have as a matriarch?
Okay, so in 1999, none of you were born yet, but we're talking September of 1999 is when I received my name, Wei Hanaksum. And at the time, I was 32 years old, and I didn't think that I was ready for a name, but because I'd spent so much time in our feast hall as a child and a youth and a young adult, the chiefs in my clan bestowed that name upon me. They don't just give names up. You have to, they groomed me through my childhood, youth, and my early years, me not knowing that I was going to be taking on such a name. So my traditional name, Wei Hanaksum, fits with the job I have right now because it means big mother figure of the clan. And my roles and responsibilities as Wei Hanaksum, a matriarch in our clan, is really instilling a strong sense of belonging. So Georgia has attended our cultural feasts, which is our governance system, and she's come in and she's participated. She's being groomed as well because I'm not going to be here forever, right? It's my job to teach my grandchildren and my daughter. And I'm proud to say that Georgia's mom took on Mr. Dai a couple of years ago. She was groomed for this name. I've made her help me in the feast hall. She, we did a lot of work together. She's also a strong advocate in learning the language as well and the culture. And she's actually doing her master's around that exact area. So really around language revitalization. So I'm pretty proud of her because she's following my footsteps, as will Georgia.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's amazing.
Another piece around what are my roles and responsibilities. We have a thing called social responsibility. So social responsibility in the Wet'suwet'en is it starts in the home. And I just gave you an example of how Georgia's being mentored to take on a name one day. Another piece is my younger sister struggled at one point back in the 90s. And my mom and my aunt, we had a family meeting and they're like, Trish, you're going to take on her children until she gets better. And I'm like, I don't have time. They don't give you the option. They're like, no, you're taking on the kids. That's your social responsibility. My grandmother and my aunt had a huge role in my upbringing. They were very involved. And so in turn, as I became old enough, it was my turn to step up to the plate and do the exact thing of social responsibility. We take care of each other. We don't let our family members go into stranger care. So that's a really good example of social responsibility.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So I guess the next question will be, have you been in or witnessed any successful reconciliation efforts?
Absolutely. So I mentioned that I am working with children and families across British Columbia, and when we're talking about reconciliation, I witnessed it firsthand in Victoria, meeting with the feds and with the province, the big leaders, the ones that make the decisions, the one that disperse funding across British Columbia. And every one of them, we had 48 members from government, the province and feds show up, and we did a big presentation called Wet'suwet'en 101. And each and every one of them spoke about reconciliation. They want what we want. And I told them, I was like, eventually I want to work myself out of a job where families all across the province know that we do not let our children go into care. It's our job to teach, relearn that. Because when you look at the 60s scoop, the residential schools, that in turn, I'm working with children and families that have been in the foster care system 5 generations in. So now we're unlearning that. I've witnessed a lot of parents kind of freeze when MCFD gets involved. You're like, so what do we have to do? Is the ministry gonna let me? I was like, whoa. I was like, we're not waiting on the ministry. We're taking our inherent rights and we're putting them into action. I'm not gonna go ask MCFD what we're gonna do. I'm gonna tell them what we're going to do, because we are actively working towards full jurisdiction of our Wet'suwet'en children and families across the province. And for the federal government and the provincial government to be on board with us, we've come a long ways, because I've been at this since 2005.
A long time.
Yeah.
Now on to my question. As a youth, how can we empower individuals to become ambassadors of reconciliation in their own communities?
Well, right now, the 4 of you are doing the exact thing is what we need more and more of you doing. And by taking on a leadership role that each of you are doing and asking the questions that you're doing and finding people to make the time to answer those questions, and don't let it stop at this workshop that you're in right now. Make it happen. Go back to community and be like, what can I do? Like, you can even walk into wherever you're from, like Georgia, you can go to Whitsett and say, I'd like a space at the upcoming band council meeting. I'm putting forward a junior band council so that we have a voice in the future for our community. And with that voice, we're looking at reconciliation. What does that look like from a youth? How do we move forward in a good way? You really using your voices and becoming strong in that. I've built my voice up over the years, and I've felt so empowered in Victoria. Because when I got up to the mic at one point, they're like, oh, we don't have enough time. We're going to have to cut you short. I was like, oh, no, you're not. I've been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. I was like, you need to figure out your timing. I was like, I've got my timing, and I'm going to utilize it as best I can. So, yeah. So use your voices. Use the platforms that the youth are using these days. I'm so old school. I just recently, in the last 6 months, got onto TikTok. I'm considered the old people that love Facebook, but use the different social media platforms. Start learning the language. Use it on TikTok if you have to. And I think that's one way our youth can really help move forward. And you're making up a big part of the population. And I can't say enough. Make it a goal. Like I told you, when I'm in the classroom, I always say successful people set goals. When you leave and you're flying home, I want you to think about how can I make a difference? How can I get the word out there? Who else do I need to talk to? Really dig into it and make yourself known. I think that it's valuable just in that it only takes one person to start making a difference. My job across the province, we never ever had urban Annabit before, and I've taken on a program that started from nothing. They just gave me a pot of funding and told me what they needed me to do, and now we have so many success stories coming out of that.
Oh, thank you.
I actually did email my dad about starting a junior council, and they didn't email me back.
Well, it happens.
They left me on red. So I guess
So
we
then,
have
One
so
more.
then show up at the band council meeting and say, here's an email that I sent, and there was no response. I'm hugely concerned that a youth and community is coming forward for leadership and wasn't responded to. This is big concerns. We're a big part of the population. Use your voice and use your heart. When I talk, you guys can hear the passion in my voice. I've really learned to use my voice. I was that quiet little teen, believe it or not, once upon a time. And my self-esteem wasn't all there. But I've really built myself up over the years. And I encourage each of you to do that as well.
We sure will. So we have one last question for you that is important to us. So as we've been here a few days, we had a lot of guest speakers, and they all gave us their definition of reconciliation. But we would really like to hear what your definition is.
My definition of reconciliation is really giving the First Nations an opportunity across Canada to step forward and say, this is who we are. This is our inherent right to have full jurisdiction over our education, over our lands, over our children, families, like all around. I'm talking the big picture. Reconciliation is getting our nations to start standing up, like the children and the youth, and to get that voice as well. I'm going to keep reiterating that because I'm really leaning into 4 of you to walk away with the voices that we need out there. We need you. I'm turning 57. I'm getting up there in age, so I'm leaning into the youth and the younger generation. Come on, you guys, let's go. We've got an epidemic going on with opioid crisis. How do we stop that? It's your voices. Which generation is going to say, okay, enough's enough? Like, we're burying so many people in community due to opioid crisis. I need the voices to start stepping forward. I'm going to leave it at that. That's where I really see a movement that could really take place. And I hope that I instill that in each of you to use your voice and start that movement.
So this week I learned a lot about reconciliation. I heard a lot of stories, some music. I learned how to do dream catchers and keychain. So I did learn a lot. It also means a lot to me to learn all that, since I do have Indigenous people in my family that I feel like were hidden because they did went to residential school, so they never got the chance to really, put their nation in, or family, talk to like their grandchildren about it, since they got basically forced to leave their culture and nations behind. So to me, this week was really important, and I learned a lot of new people and new friends, and I really, really liked it. And I hope to be able to do stuff like this again and learn even more about reconciliation.
This week I really learned a lot about the nation that we're from and its history, and a lot about different cultures and different Indigenous groups in this country, and I feel like it was really insightful.
In my week here in Ottawa, I learned that there's way more to reconciliation than I thought, that there's so many different interpretations of the term and all these different perspectives of all the different youth that have come from across Canada, and I think it's truly beautiful to just hear all of these different opinions and thoughts of other people.
I think I've learned a lot this past couple days. about reconciliation, like they said. I didn't know that a lot of people have like different like definitions for reconciliation, and yeah, talked to a lot of knowledgeable people, and I just think it was like really educating and cool.
Experiences Canada, providing young Canadians with once-in-a-lifetime experiential learning opportunities since 1936. Learn more by visiting experiencescanada.ca and follow us on social media at Experiences Canada. Thank you to Youth Ottawa for partnering with us for the production of these podcasts, and thank you to Canadian Heritage for funding Experiences Canada's first ever in-person forum towards reconciliation.